Have you ever looked at a dish and wondered about the story behind its unusual appearance, or the long cultural journey it took before arriving on a humble street table? Do you know what this dish is? The one that so many locals in my city line up for every single morning? If you look closely at its texture and its rich, deep color, you'll notice that these are pork chitterlings. They are the carefully cleaned, edible parts of a pig's internal organs, a traditional ingredient that has been part of Vietnamese cuisine for generations. In many Western countries, these parts are often discarded, but in a society where people once had to make the most of every available ingredient, nothing was allowed to go to waste. Over time, what began as a practical necessity became a beloved comfort food that many families still enjoy today. This is my simple breakfast today. Sitting on a tiny plastic stool along a busy sidewalk, I'm enjoying a warm bowl of Chao Long, or pork organ porridge. To better understand this dish, chow is rice that has been slowly simmered in a rich pork bone broth for hours, until the grains become soft enough to melt into a thick, creamy porridge. Long refers to the pork organs, which are carefully cleaned with salt and lime, thoroughly boiled, and sliced into bite-sized pieces before being added to the bowl. Everything comes together in one simple meal that is warm, filling, and deeply comforting. This is one of the most popular breakfast dishes in Hanoi. You'll see construction workers, street vendors, office employees, motorbike taxi drivers, and many other ordinary people enjoying it before starting their day. Part of its popularity comes from its affordability. For just a small amount of money, you get a meal that's satisfying, nutritious, and provides enough energy for hours of work. As a single mother, finding a breakfast that's both nourishing and affordable always feels like the first little success of my day. After finishing breakfast, I take a short walk to the place I came here to visit today.
Hello everyone, today I go market.
This is Dong Tac Market, one of Hanoi's best-known secondhand markets. It has been part of the city for many years, and while it's still mostly frequented by locals, more and more international visitors have started discovering it as well. Unlike the traditional wet markets or modern shopping malls you might be familiar with.
Căn hộ cao cấp, tổng mức đầu tư 1.200 tỷ đồng. Chủ đầu tư, tập đoàn Anh Long, công ty cổ phần đầu tư xuất nhập khẩu Tây Đô. Từng được ký.
Con của em của cái con bán hoa ấy kìa. Chú vào đấy, ta bảo chú vào đấy làm gì đấy, cháu đi vệ sinh. Thế xong người ta bảo chỗ đây có phải.
Dong Tac Market focuses almost entirely on secondhand and surplus goods. Walking through its narrow maze-like alleys, you'll find racks of used clothing, vintage hats, secondhand eyeglasses, partially used perfumes, and countless everyday household items. There are even stalls selling discounted underwear and factory overstock. For decades, Dong Tac has been one of the largest centers for secondhand clothing and clearance merchandise in Hanoi. Goods from many different countries eventually find their way here, stacked high inside tiny shops connected by winding passageways beneath old apartment buildings. For many working-class families, this isn't simply a place to hunt for bargains. It's a place that helps stretch every paycheck just a little further. As you wander through these crowded little alleys, it feels as though you could discover almost anything. If you're patient enough to search through the towering piles of clothes, and if you're lucky, with a careful eye and a bit of experience, you might even come across authentic vintage pieces from well-known international brands, hidden among the ordinary garments. Most of the clothing here is surprisingly affordable. Prices vary depending on the item's condition, the brand, and of course, your bargaining skills. But many everyday pieces cost only a few tens of thousands of Vietnamese dong. Converted into US dollars, that's usually just $1 or $2. making Dong Tac Market an incredible place for anyone trying to live well on a modest income. I'd heard that around old apartment complexes like this, there are often many stray cats wandering around in search of food. So I brought a little food with me, hoping to find some and give them a meal. But unfortunately, I couldn't spot a single one today. As I wandered deeper into the maze of the market, making my way through the narrow passageways, I came across a little shop that immediately caught my attention. What made it so unusual were the enormous piles of clothing stacked from floor to ceiling. At first glance, they almost looked like giant sculptures standing guard at the entrance. The shop was tucked away deep inside the old apartment complex, far from the sunlight and the noise of the main street, hidden in a quiet corner where time seemed to slow down. I stepped inside and asked the owner about the prices. She smiled warmly and said, "Everything here is just 10,000 Vietnamese dong. That's less than 40 US cents for one piece of clothing." It didn't matter whether it was a winter jacket, a shirt, or a dress. Every single item cost exactly the same. This kind of fixed price clearance sale is quite common in some hidden corners of Dong Tac Market. Small shop owners often sell everything at one low price, so they can clear space for the next shipment of secondhand clothing. For someone like me, who has to think carefully before spending every dollar, finding clothes for less than 40 cents feels almost unbelievable. The lady who owns this little shop was incredibly kind. She greeted everyone with a smile and even invited me upstairs to look at more clothes. Then she said something that really stayed with me. "You don't have to buy anything. Just have a look around if you'd like. Take your time." There was no pressure, no sales tactics, just genuine kindness. I think that's one of the things I love most about small family-run businesses in Hanoi. Many of these shop owners understand exactly what it's like to live on a tight budget because they've experienced it themselves.
Đưa túi đây là một, cầm lấy hai cái kia ra đây tôi cho nhét vào một túi. Không, không ngồi đấy được đâu bạn. Nó thay thì nó sẽ lẫn nhau, em không dọn được đâu.
Bây giờ treo lên đúng không?
Treo lên thôi.
Bên trong là quần áo gì hả chị?
Quần áo vải, còn ngoài là quần áo bơi. Không ngồi đấy được, nhưng với điều kiện là không được vứt quần áo vải ra đây, mà phải vứt ra kia cả. Chào em. Xin mời, túi bóng của em ở tay em ấy. Em đi đã. Bạn quần trắng ơi, ngồi vào trong đi ạ. Nếu không nhà tớ sẽ không có lối cho khách vào. Để em tránh bạn quần trắng ra, đừng quay vào.
Vâng, không lên đâu.
Đừng quay vào mặt mình nhé. Mình cũng không thích lắm đâu. Quay lưng thôi. Vâng.
Ui, chui trong kia.
Em cứ đi thôi. Nếu em quay cho xong hết đi. Xong bắt đầu em quay ra ngoài này em chỉ được mua cái gì thì mua thôi.
Vâng.
Chứ em đừng dàn trải công việc nhà chị nó rất đông người. Thế mà em quay thì không biết đến lúc nào xong. Thì nó rất là phiền cho cái người bán hàng. Em phải nhanh gọn vào. Nhưng mà em phải làm công việc cho người ta thấy nhanh.
Gì? Cái này đi 10.000. Em cái gì đấy? Mua này mặc cái gì không? Nhiều đồ bơi quá, mình không muốn cầu mặc đồ bơi. Mày thấy hai mảnh thì đưa cho tao nhỉ? Đây, thôi đấy. Cái này là cái gì á các bạn? Tắc không đâu đâu. Cái này là cái gì đây? Cái mày? Cái gì đấy? Gì? Thế mà không được vui.
Đây là
Ok.
After choosing a few things, I sat down on the concrete steps outside to check everything carefully. I've always had this habit. When money is limited, every purchase matters. I like to make sure each item is in good condition before I take it home. Shopping in places like this takes a little patience, but if you're willing to spend the time searching, you can often find surprisingly good quality at very affordable prices. These hats are for my son and me to wear, so we can stay protected from the sun. I bought a shirt for myself and a new outfit for Bap.
Nếu không thì đẩy lên bơi kia, dịch vào trong một tí nữa mà để đẩy bơi dịch vào đi Thành ơi. Thành vẫn cho bao đẩy dưới đất đi.
They also sell sun protective clothing for people who travel by motorbike. In Vietnam, these outfits are extremely common because our summers can be incredibly hot, with temperatures sometimes reaching 40 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why you'll see so many people fully covered from head to toe whenever they go outside. A full sun protection outfit like this typically costs between 70,000 and 150,000 VNDs, which is about $2.70 to $5.80 USD. As I continued exploring, I walked through the residential corridors of the old apartment complex. This area is part of one of Hanoi's old Khu Thap Thé neighborhoods, apartment buildings that were originally built decades ago for government workers. The hallways are narrow. The staircases are worn smooth from generations of footsteps. The concrete walls carry stains from time, covered with patches of moss and old electrical wiring. Every corner seems to tell a story about the people who have lived here over the years. Along one of the corridors, I came across a small stall selling vintage accessories. These beaded bracelets immediately caught my eye. They were more expensive than the clothes I had just bought, but they looked beautiful. As I held one in my hand, I couldn't help thinking about my mother. Sometimes, even when life isn't easy, we still want to bring home a small gift for the people we love. These belts are also very affordable. Depending on the style and quality, they usually cost between 30,000 and 70,000 VN, which is about $1.50 to $2.70 US. I've never actually used one of these myself. I just wanted to show it to you. The same stall also sold secondhand eyeglasses. Depending on the brand and condition, they ranged from about 50,000 to 200,000 Vietnamese dong, or roughly $2 to $7 US. Compared to buying a brand new pair from an optical store, That's a huge difference.
Kiểu ăn chơi. Hay. Đẹp, cái đấy đẹp. Em thích cái nâu hơn. Màu nâu đang kiểu chen hơn.
Đừng cho chị lên TikTok nha.
Không, em quay lên màu nâu á.
Shops like these are especially popular with tourists, who often stop by to buy a bag as a souvenir or for everyday use. Standing in the corridor, I looked out over the surrounding buildings. The atmosphere here feels completely different from the busy streets outside. It's quieter, older, more peaceful, almost like stepping into another chapter of Hanoi's history. Most of the apartments here are very small. Over the years, families have found creative ways to make more living space. Many have built metal extensions that project from the buildings. Locals often jokingly call them tiger cages. Some are used as tiny kitchens. Others become storage rooms or small balconies. They're simple solutions, but they tell a story of resilience, of families doing their best with the space they have. This is how I usually shop for myself. I know these clothes once belonged to someone else, but that doesn't bother me. After they're carefully washed and cleaned, they still feel fresh to me. They give me the simple joy of wearing something different, without spending more than I can afford. I think many women feel the same. No matter how much money we have, we all enjoy putting on something that makes us feel confident and happy. For me, shopping within my budget isn't just about saving money. It's also a small way to relax, to clear my mind, and to remind myself that happiness doesn't always have to be expensive. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of today's video. I'd love to ask you something. Do you think my English has improved? I'm still learning every single day. Right now, my routine is very simple. I write down exactly what I want to say, translate it into English, and then listen to the pronunciation over and over again until I can remember it. If you have any practical advice for learning English at home, I would truly appreciate hearing it. Please leave your suggestions in the comments below. Thank you for always supporting my little family. Your encouragement means more to me than you probably realize. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.